The third generation, or NC Miata, is generally regarded as the worst Miata, but it's definitely not the worst Miata for everyone. In this video, I'll ask NC2 Miata owner Rick some tough questions about NCs as he shares his honest owner review with his 2009 NC2 Miata with retractable hardtop and sport suspension. And we'll ride along with Rick while we talk about performance, NC Miata peculiarities, and his honest owner review of this beauty. We'll skip the conjecture and deal with the facts that only an actual owner can provide.
So Rick, what kind of cars have you had in the past, and how long have you owned this NC Miata?
I had a 79 Volkswagen Rabbit, and then I had an 80 Mazda RX-7, followed by an 86 Mazda RX-7. Then I had a 1989 Ford Probe GT, followed by a 95 Probe GT. And then I had a 2008 Mini Cooper S.
Sounds like there's a lot of Mazdas in that mix.
There is.
Were you specifically looking for an NC Miata, and why did you end up settling on this exact car?
So the NC I found is the perfect size for me. Unfortunately, the NA and the NB I don't fit into. They're simply too small as far as the legroom and the headroom goes. And so that kind of narrowed it down for this one. And for this particular one, it happened to be the exact color combination and the power retractable hardtop that I wanted. It was a manual, and it also was fully equipped with all of the features that I wanted, including the Bilstein and special suspension and the limited slip differential.
And how long have you owned this car?
Since 2019 July.
Okay, so it's almost 6 years. When you were shopping around, did you drive other generations of Miatas, and what were your thoughts about those?
Yeah, so when they first came out, I of course was eager to drive the NA because that was a really big deal. Unfortunately, that I found as nice as it was just too small for me. Same thing when the NB came out, had a chance to drive one of those and also rent an NA and an NB. So when the NC came around and I was in a position to buy one, then I simply realized that nope, the NA and NB are too small, so it would have to be the NC.
And how tall are you?
6'2".
Okay, same as me. So you were specifically looking for a hardtop, right?
Yes.
And why was that so important?
Well, since the NC has a power retractable hardtop, this is great because it really just takes up the same space as the fabric convertible roof, but in this case it provides the extra security and safety that I was looking for. And a bonus feature happens to be that it also makes it quieter when the roof is up.
So in your mind, the extra 77 pounds or so that the hardtop, retractable hardtop NC versus the cloth convertible top NC is worth the trade-off? Oh,
absolutely, because for me, I don't really count the pounds.
So tell me about how you found this car and the process you went through to settle on this exact NC Miata.
Thought, okay, let's take a look on Auto Trader and see what they have as far as Miatas. And wouldn't you know it, the very first one that came up was exactly this one, which had all the features and even the color combination I was looking for.
And this one was in ready to go condition, or did you have to do some work after you purchased it?
Yeah, so this was in excellent condition. It only had 57,000 kilometers on it. The previous owners had taken really good care of it. The only thing I needed was to buy new tires and also have it thoroughly checked for new filters and fluids throughout.
Yeah, so, sorry, you said 65,000 kilometers?
57,000 kilometers.
Yeah, so it's about 35,000 miles. Any idea why the previous owner was selling it?
Yeah, it turns out that it was a couple. They had had some major health issues, one of them as a result of an accident. So unfortunately, they simply weren't able to get in and out of it or drive it any longer. So reluctantly, they had to put it up for sale.
So was there any chance you would have bought an NA or an NB Miata? You know, people talk about them being lighter and being more pure Miatas. Is there any chance you would have even considered one of those?
Well, as much as I think there are no bad Miatas, simply the NA and the NB didn't fit, so it's just like buying a pair of shoes. You have to go with the ones that fit rather than the ones that are too small or too tight.
So when you compare the power to weight ratios between the earlier cars, the NAs and the NBs, they start off about 18 or so pounds per horsepower. But then when you get to the NCs, it's closer to 15 pounds per horsepower. So that would just stand to reason they would be quicker, even though the car is slightly heavier than the earlier ones. Was that a concern for you?
So not a concern at all. It just happened to be a bonus feature. I mean, the real criterion was, do I fit in the car or not? And is it going to be comfortable for me? And so that's why it simply had to be an NC. And yeah, I mean, it was just a bonus that it's a quicker car.
Oh, and by the way, we'll talk a little bit later about how much similar cars like this are worth currently in places like Bring a Trailer. Is that okay?
Oh, sure.
So since the NC is built off the same platform as the RX-8, it's a sturdier chassis. It's more a sturdier car, and that's partially where the heavier weight comes from. Is that a bonus as far as you're concerned, or is it a detriment?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, you know, the build quality for Mazda I've always liked, which explains the RX-7s and the two Probe GTs that I had. You know, I don't mind at all with it being based on the RX-8, because the RX-8 is a slightly wider car, and that's what helps generate some of the extra space within the NC.
And gives you that stiffer structure.
Yeah, a stiffer structure is always better.
What has been the most memorable outing or trip you've had so far in this car?
Wow, there have been so many, actually. I mean, as a daily driver...
Other than this one, of course.
You got me. Other than this one, of course. So, yeah, I mean, as a daily driver, every day it just puts a smile on my face just getting in and out of it. And this is why I love having it as a daily driver from April until November. We've had a number of trips with two Miata clubs that I belong to. And so we have some excellent tours and cruises on windy roads and on beach roads like this here. And just, you know, sometimes just going out for an afternoon drive or a morning drive is, it just simply makes it worthwhile.
There's been a lot of talk in the Mazda community about the heavier weight of specifically the NC generation. And so, you know, when you work it out, it looks like Mazdas have gained an average of about 25 pounds per model year from when they first started to when the NC came out. It doesn't seem like a huge trade-off for more power, more acceleration, higher build quality, and more amenities. What do you think?
Well, I think too that to add in the extra safety equipment that was required within the auto industry, and also to keep the car modern with the technology that would make it competitive with other cars in the marketplace, that was something that was inevitable. And especially, for example, with this car, with this NC2, it also has the side airbags in the seat backs. So to me, that's something that's very worthwhile, because safety is really important, especially when you're driving a small car. So I really think that was just something that was inevitable to keep it competitive and to keep it aligned with what had to happen, because this is a car that's sold internationally, and it has to meet all of those safety standards.
So the NC Miatas have been, again, somewhat criticized about its sloppier handling and things like that. Now, when they brought out the NC2, which of course is this car, they addressed that. And then on top of that, you got the sport, or this car has that sport version or sport package with the Bilstein shocks, etc. So do you find the handling of this car sloppy?
Not at all. I mean, I've had a basis of comparison. So the most recent car prior to this one was the 2008 Mini Cooper S. Now that car also is famous for having terrific handling, but unfortunately that had more of a punishing ride even in the comfort mode settings. And so what I found with this car is Sure, like it's got a great stance and a great presence on the road, but it still has excellent handling, especially with the front engine rear drive, and it still doesn't provide a punishing ride when you're enjoying that handling. So this has been my perception of it, and compared to the NA and the NB, I mean, it's just had that many more years of chassis and suspension development to get it to this level.
Yeah, and you mentioned front engine, rear drive. It's actually true that this car is more of a mid-front, mid-engine, because the engine is actually behind the front axle, much like it was in the old Honda S2000s.
Yeah, and that translates to 50-50 weight distribution, which I think is very remarkable, and it makes a huge difference. Very comparable to the Mazda RX-7s that I had.
Another concern that I've heard from others is that when the car is cold, the shift from first to second gear is quite stiff. Have you had any concerns about that?
So I just like to always make a point of letting the car warm up before I drive it. So I really haven't experienced that much, but I guess that would probably be the case if someone didn't warm it up. I think also it makes a difference on the ambient temperature. So for example, what I've found is a day when it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit is quite a bit different than if it's 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So the warm-up time is quite a bit quicker on the warmer days.
So I've heard it said that the smiley face and the potato shape of the NC Miata gives a kind of a cutesy image that a lot of Miata owners really didn't want to perpetuate with the Miatas and the new generations coming forward. Do you think that was a big concern when the NC Miata came out?
Well, certainly not for me. I mean, I like driving a car that I consider a happy car, which is usually the way that I feel and the way that the car makes me feel when I not just look at it, but when I drive it. I had the same experience with the Mini Cooper S that I had. To me, that was a very happy car. So I don't mind the face of the car.
So what do you like most about the look of your NC Miata, and from what perspective do you like the look? From the front, from the back, from the side?
Well, that's a good question, and for me, the overall package was what really appealed to me. This happens to be the exact color combination that I was looking for. I originally saw it at the 2006 Detroit Auto Show, and I thought, wow, this is a car that I'd like to have someday. And so not just the color combination, but the interior. I like the way that it's designed and the way everything is so easy to use. This car happened to have an upgraded wood trim package that the previous owners, thank you previous owners, had decided to put on, and I love how it looks in this car. The design of it, I also like the way that it looks. I think it's well proportioned. I think it's aged well. One of my best views of the car is when I see it in an exact profile position from eye level. I also like the front three-quarter view. I like it mostly with the top down, and most of the views with the top up. There's just one view I don't like, and that's kind of from the rear three-quarter panel at a certain angle, which I find it looks a little awkward to me.
So again, the concerns about the size of the NC versus the previous cars. So the NC is about 1.5 inches longer, it's about 1.5 inches wider, and it's a whole inch taller than the car that came before it, the NB. I can't think of any other car that would have grown by such a small amount, created so much concerns. Why do you think that was?
Oh my God, call 911. I mean, it's emergency that we've got an extra 1.5 inches in all those directions. To me, it's, it was all part of what simply was a result of having the wider RX-8 suspension and creating the extra room within the car, which was the right way to go because of all the extra safety features. And I think the vocal minority that seems to like criticizing the NC in its progression or evolution compared to the NA and NB really have determined that because they were speculating that this was going to be the start of a really bad trend.
I think it was with the RX-7s, to be fair.
Exactly, yeah, and so that simply didn't happen. And in fact, the ND is a perfect example of, again, I mean, it ended up being a little bit smaller and a little bit shorter, and still was able to accommodate the next generation of safety equipment and features that it needed to have.
So obviously the space in all Miatas has always had a premium. Now when the NC came out, it had 4 more cubic feet of extra interior space. Where is that 4 cubic feet? Like, where do you notice that it feels bigger and better for you?
Oh, absolutely. So first of all, the legroom. So the way that I'm driving it right now, I've got the seat forward by about 1.5 inches compared to it being all the way back. And that's for me to be able to depress the clutch fully and have the right driving position for me. I also have the seat in the highest position, so that gives me a nice view of the road and helps with the 270-degree view around the car, not just in front of the car. Certainly the footwells are wider, and also for both the driver and the passenger, and for me that's important because most of my passengers are like you, over 6 feet tall. And then the other thing is certainly within the seats, between the inside of the door and the console for both the driver and the passenger, and of course that translates to between the inside of the doors on both sides. So that makes a huge difference, and there's also a bit of extra headroom as well.
Nope, my head hits. Mazda Miatas are regarded as being incredibly reliable. In fact, it's one of the few cars that's never had an official recall in the American market. Have you also experienced that with this Miata, that it's been incredibly reliable?
Oh, it's been definitely the most reliable car that I've ever had, and I've had some really good ones. I mean, both of the RX-7s were amazing, and the Ford Probe GTs were also. So for me, this has been just a real treat. I mean, I maintain it by the recommended schedule that Mazda puts out, and it's really just a matter of oil changes, filter changes, and checking the brakes, and it's only got 92,000 kilometers on it, so
which is about 60,000 miles.
Exactly. So that's really not a lot of mileage just yet either. So yeah, it's been absolutely great.
Yeah. So you only drive about 6,000 or 7,000 miles a year. So do you just have the oil changed once a year?
I have it changed before I put it away for the winter, and then I also have the oil changed, again, synthetic oil, when I put it out on the road in the spring.
Even though the oil change from the winter, there was virtually no mileage on it, you still change it?
Yep.
Even with synthetic?
Absolutely, yeah. Wow. I've just decided I really want to be proactive with that because for me it's a very inexpensive way of keeping it as reliable as it possibly can be. There are people who I know within the Miata Club who have got NAs and NBs that have got 300,000 kilometers, which translates to whatever the mileage is.
180,000.
180,000. One of the things I like about this engine is that it has a timing chain in it.
Right, instead of timing belt.
Right.
So it would probably go 300,000 miles before that chain would start to stretch and need to be changed, as opposed to a timing belt, which is typically 60 or 70,000 miles.
Exactly.
So talking about maintenance, so do you take your car to a Mazda dealership, or do you take it to an independent garage that's either specialized in Mazda or just any independent garage, or an independent garage that specializes in all makes?
Well, I'm pretty fortunate in both cases. So for very minor things like tire rotations and oil changes, then there is someone locally that I can take it to. But I also have an amazing Mazda dealership that's only within about a 45-minute drive. And so for any of the more lengthy services, then I'm able to take it to them, and they provide a discount on both parts and service as a result of being a member of the Miata Club.
So Mazda talked quite a bit about when the NC came out that one of their goals was to improve the quality of the interior. Have you noticed when you compared that to NAs and NBs, and where specifically did you notice the improvement in the quality of the interior that appealed to you?
Improved quality of the leather, for example, and also the plastics and that sort of thing within the car. And then the NC2 went a step further, and it also improved the top of the door cards, for example. It's a softer material. Also, just the center console, it has a padded feature to it, as do the armrests. And there's a new design for the armrests here where it's also a lot more ergonomic. For example, I can put my hand in here while I still have a metal water bottle in there. So it's really gone a step in the right direction, I feel, and it also included a higher quality Bose stereo.
So one of the things that I found really interesting and unique about the NC Miata, and I don't know if it's in other Miatas or not, is this open mode that you have where it has a set of vents lower down to provide air conditioning. Does it also provide heat lower down too, or is it just air conditioning?
It provides the heat as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that must be a neat feature. Like I say, I've never seen that in any other car before.
Yeah.
And is that something you use?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, there have been really, really hot days where this has a feature of the air conditioning where it provides, you can have the top down and the windows up, and you can have the air conditioning on.
There's storage spots in a lot of unusual areas in the Miata. So one of them is on the back of the sun visors. There's little slots where you can put cards. I see you've got some business cards up there, and of course the center console slides back, and this other part at the back here. Do you use all those compartments?
Enough space for it's a very cubed space, so there's enough space for gloves, extra hats, sometimes extra sandwiches, and in the side pockets here, we've got space for metal water bottles, most of which fit in there. There's also a little mesh thing here that can hold wallets or cell phones. And the center console has these two rather lower cup holders that you can use for putting keys.
So what about the size of the trunk? Do you find it adequate, or at what point do you find it not adequate?
Well, the trunk was designed to accommodate one set of golf clubs, including all the clubs and the golf bag as well, and it does. It also, the most we've ever had in it has been the one set of golf clubs. We've had two of the folding canvas chairs that collapse, and we've had a small cooler, we've had a large duffel bag, we've also had a roller carry-on bag, and some jackets. The only thing that I found that doesn't really fit that well in it is adding a spare tire. So I did get a Space Saver spare tire because the NC generation only comes with one of those inflator kits.
Right. Do you make sure that you get only Mazda OEM parts for it? Or are you okay with aftermarket parts, aftermarket oil filters, and things like that for it?
Yeah, so when the few occasions that I've had the local independent do the oil and filter changes, then they've used high quality comparable, I guess, to the OEM. But of course, when I mostly go to the Mazda dealership, then that's where they pride themselves on using Mazda only parts.
And it's for you, it's worth the extra cost?
Yeah, again, because with the discount that they give me on parts and service, usually it's really not that much difference at all compared to having it done by the local independent. So it's worthwhile having the people work on Mazdas pretty well all the time compared to on part-time basis.
So for 2009, when Mazda came out with this version of the NC, it was a much sturdier engine, sturdier crankshaft, pistons, and it allowed them to increase the RPM to 7,200 RPM. Was that something that also appealed to you?
Well, for me, I rarely would ever redline this car when I'm driving it. So it was just nice knowing that it had that extra capability and the extra longevity that would result from those improvements.
They also said that those engine improvements would give it a more distinctive exhaust note. Have you noticed any difference in the exhaust note of the NC versus the NA or NB?
Certainly compared to the NA and the NB, it does have a more distinct exhaust note, and in fact it also has the induction sound that is allowed to come into the interior more, so that allows you to enjoy the engine sound when you're accelerating.
When the NC came out, it had the most horsepower, 167 horsepower, of any Miata that went before it, except for the Mazda speed was a little bit higher, but of course it was a turbo.
Right.
So would you consider the horsepower in your NC adequate, like Rolls-Royce did? For years they just said their horsepower was adequate, or do you think it's lacking, or do you think it's just about perfect?
Sure, I'd love to compare this car to a Rolls-Royce. Why not? Especially if it comes in the same color combination. But, as far as the adequacy, absolutely. This car is quicker than both the RX-7s I had and even both of the Ford Probe GTs that I had. The first one was a turbo. The second one was a V6. And this car is about as quick as the Mini Cooper S that I had with the turbo from 2008.
Yeah, that's for sure. So it's interesting when you look at specifications. They say the specification for this car is a 0 to 60 time of 6.9 seconds. But when you look at a Lamborghini Miura from 1967, it had a 0 to 60 time of 6.7 seconds, so which isn't all that far off. So supposedly you can relatively easily swap a Ford Fusion engine into this car. With some modifications, you can get 300 or more horsepower. Is that something you'd consider?
So for me, that's not really something that I would like to do. I've always felt that getting a car equipped from the factory exactly the way that I want it would be my preference, rather than starting to modify things, because what I've heard usually happens is once you modify the engine, for example, with extra horsepower, well, now you need a stronger transmission, and now you need maybe better brakes and rear end shocks, all those things. So it starts becoming a domino effect that I'd rather not do. For me, I'm not feeling as though I'm missing anything with this. and especially since it's a naturally aspirated engine and gives me all the horsepower and torque that I need.
Do you mostly drive your car with the top up or the top down, windows up or windows down?
So I drive it with the top down as often as possible. The windows up if I want to minimize the noise, kind of like what we're doing right now. But also up to around maybe 30 to 50 miles per hour, I would keep the windows down, and then I would, anything above that, I would raise the windows. Once we get onto the highway, speeds of anything like 70 or 75 miles per hour or more, that's when I find it's better to have the top up.
So it's nice to have that option.
Absolutely. And it only takes 12 seconds to raise the roof.
Very good. When it comes to usability, many feel that the NC has a real sweet spot in terms of a daily driver. You can use it for Autocross, you can use it for track days, things like that. Have you ever thought of using your Miata or your NC Miata for track days?
I really haven't thought of using this for track days. I did use the Mini Cooper S on a track day, but really I enjoy driving this car so much on a daily basis, and when we have the different Miata Club events both.
Do you know how to heel and tow, and do you heel and tow in this car?
Well, that's a good question, because when I first got this car and just was checking it over, I noticed that the pedals are actually designed and placed for perfect heel and towing. I used to know how to heel and tow when I first was learning how to drive Formula Fords, but I haven't done it for decades.
Or maybe you just haven't found the need in this car.
Yeah, it could be. Certainly, I imagine if there was more track time, for example, that would certainly be useful there.
Again, I know you haven't been using this car for track days, but do you think with the hardtop that comes up, it would offer more protection on a track day than the convertible top?
Well, I think part of it is not just the materials used for the construction and how how the roof joins onto the windshield, but I guess heaven forbid if there's a rollover. And I imagine that with the hard surface rather than the material or fabric surface, that would probably provide not just better rigidity, but also better rollover protection.
When I look around the exterior of your car, one thing I noticed, it has an external antenna. Has that become a problem in any way? I just can't think of any other car that has that.
It works well.
So if we check in at Bring a Trailer, we can see that although there are very few available for sale right now, by checking the previous sales, we can see that an NC like this one would sell for about $17,000 US, which is a little under 24,000 Canadian. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I usually check in once every few weeks just to see what's out there.
So Rick, by the way, if you don't mind me asking, how much did you pay for this car 6 years ago?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so it was just under 18,000 Canadian, and at that time it had 57,000 kilometers on it.
Yeah, so 18,000 Canadian would have been what, about 14.5 US dollars?
About that, yeah.
So you're making money.
Well, and isn't that a pleasant surprise? I mean, that wasn't the intention, but sure. I mean, if the car appreciates, why not?
So the Miata Club community seems to be a big part of the enjoyment that you have by owning a Miata and by participating. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you like so much about that?
Yeah, so what I found is, so I belong to two clubs. One is Miatas in Muskoka, and that's more rural, and it covers a large geographic area, but it's far more spread out as far as the density of population. And what that also means is there's a lot more windy roads and interesting roads within central Ontario. It's a smaller club. It's got about 60 members, and it's been established for over 15 years. So there's a lot of camaraderie there. It's I guess, more of a social club first and a driving club second. Whereas the other club, the Trillium Miata Club, is over 200 members. It's based in the larger metropolitan Toronto area, and so it's more of a driving club that also has social events.
So it seems to me that by the time the 2009 NC Miata Grand Touring, like the one that we're driving in here today, your car hit the streets, it seems like Mazda gave enthusiasts and other Miata owners probably what they've been asking for: more power, more sophisticated car, more creature comforts, the ability to have a power hardtop on the car, and all those other things. Do you feel that there was a real need at that time for the NC?
There was. The marketplace evolved. I mean, when the NA was first introduced, it really set the auto industry on fire in a good way, because all of a sudden you had a small, light, affordable roadster that was actually reliable because it was built by a Japanese manufacturer that was famous for reliability. So, so they sold, I think it was like 400,000 of the NA generation. Then obviously other automakers weren't content to just let Mazda run away with that success. So they introduced their own competitors, and the NB had to evolve. It lost the pop-up headlights because that became a safety issue in many countries, and it evolved into more Jaguar-esque styling, but was very similar with the NA. And then there were more competitors who entered the industry internationally as well.
So Rick, do you care that the NC Miata is considered by some to be the worst Miata?
No, I don't. I don't care what the vocal minority likes to say about the NC Miatas, because I care what I say about it, and it's been absolutely perfect for me, especially this version. And what I've noticed in the Miata clubs that I'm at is the NC is certainly the most popular generation that are in the clubs. Now, part of it could be the timing, and part of it could be that people just haven't bought that many NDs just yet. But yeah, I mean, I don't care.
So of all the cars you've owned, is this your favorite?
Yeah, I would say it's probably become my favorite, yeah.
Recently, a survey of pizza toppings concluded that anchovies were the worst pizza topping and the least likely to be chosen by Americans, even though anchovies were a key ingredient to pizzas centuries ago when pizza was invented in Roman times. So just like the Miata consumer desires have changed, many enthusiasts prefer the NC with its larger interior, better build quality, and higher performance to the NA or NB. But if you want that pure original Miata experience, you can always purchase an NA or an NB Miata, or even anchovies for your pizza. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the NC Miata debate in the comments below. Click here for my next video on my honest owner review of my Porsche 718 Spyder, and I'll see you there.